We are currently situated in Galle, Sri Lanka. What a beautiful place it was. I actually took the drone out flying yesterday and I got to share that experience with a bunch of Buddhist monks. Watching them fly the drone in their orange robes had to be one of the most amusing parts of my day. Very excited to be here, to be doing some work with an orphanage over the next 2 weeks, as well as shout out to my two friends who are having the wedding this week as well. Extremely grateful to have been invited to share that experience with them and help to document through my video eye focus and lens for them. Now, one of the big tables of discussion right now that I think everyone was interested in having is the focus on Bitcoin's price direction. Now, I might, like myself, I'm going to say something similar to what Tyler Jenks has said, is that I'm not entirely all that interested in what Bitcoin is doing as in so much as what the stock market and the global markets are doing. Now, obviously, I'm a huge fan of cryptocurrency, so therefore, just by nature, I care a lot more about what cryptocurrency is doing. But the underlying sentiments to the global markets as a whole, I think, mean a lot more to the future of what's going on. So let's just take a look and dive right into some of the key indicators of where I think Bitcoin's price is moving. Now, last week, we had said that we might see a run to around $5,200 to $5,400 on the Bitcoin price charts. One of the reasons why we had gone into that particular postulate or pontification process was because there's a big volume gap missing all the way up to 5,400. Again, this is where we had our last drop, where we really started to fall. Now that we've broken down and we did not even get close to breaking past 4,200 again, and we've broke down below the last area of support here, this looks very bearish to me. Now, I had hoped that for everyone else's sake that might have still been sitting in Bitcoin, that we would go higher so that they could find a better exit point rather than exiting at the lower prices. We still might see that just by the nature of the consistency of certain things that we've seen take place in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets. We usually do look for a retracement down to the 236 on wave 1 before extending into wave 3. So we look for the extension of wave 2 to come down here to maybe make a wave 3 projection to 44, back down for the wave 4, and then wave 5 projections of around 52 to 5,400. That seems like it's becoming less and less likely. You have volume dropping off as well, which is, as you can see over the last little while, volume has been losing steam. Actually, even from the daily chart, you can see that volume is significantly lower than it was during our initial run-ups to the $15,000 area. So we have a fairly consistent price and volume drop over the last few months. Again, another rather bearish indicator. I'm leaning more and more towards the drop into the $1,000 area. The reason being, I think that the general overall markets, like I said, which are really fascinating me right now, they had the largest point gain in history, but just before that, the largest point drop in quite a long time, and I think in ever. Our original sentiments, which we had posted in our last video, was that we would likely see a B wave from the S&P 500, bring us somewhere around the 2,600 point area, where you see something like this. It says 260 on my charts here, but I believe that's 2,600 on the full length. And then you'd likely see a more complex A, B, C, D, E down just below the moving average on the daily. So if you scroll out to the daily, or is it on the monthly? I think it was on the monthly we were looking. Yeah, there it is. As we were looking on the monthly, we'd see, we saw an A, very, very, very quick, sharp touch of the 200 exponential moving average. I do suspect that we'll get around up to the 2,600 point area before coming down to test the, is it the 55? Is this the 100 and the 55? 155. Well, I would have to double check actually what I have let's see, what do I have it on? Okay, yeah, I've got a 200 and then a 55 and a 100 as well. So I would suspect that we'll see the bounce again around the 200 point area. What it does from there, hard to say. This is a very complex situation. You have monetary faults and collapses coming in from around the world, so it's going to be difficult to adjust to what is happening until we get more information and data. Again, this quick sharp touch to the 200 EMA was really important to see. And then I think, here we go. And then down here we actually have the 200-day moving average. That's what it is. So you have the 200 EMA, which is where we hit this A, and then this C range here is around the 200 moving average. Again, so an EMA is an exponential moving average. It changes with your time frames, where the moving average does not. Anyways, for anyone that wondered or cared. So this is what I suspect will happen in the S&P 500. Now, the effects of this on Bitcoin, I do believe, are very, very bearish. You have to remember that around the world, people are going to be, they're going to be scared. And as you get more and more into survival modes of what these markets and these indicators really mean to the average person, you start to realize that most people don't have the money to invest in speculative assets to begin with. So the fact that they don't have the money when things were good, they might not have the money even more so when things start to get bad. And these big institutions are the same way. They're looking to pull in the reins. They'll likely be going into fiat because they don't understand the purpose and the importance of something like Bitcoin. So it's going to be a really, really interesting ride. I have not been touching any alternative coins, although there would have been a nice run through some of them the last week or two. I'm not particularly interested in playing that small wave, although I did in Bitcoin and by shorting Bcash a little bit, just because I wanted to find a way to not like Bcash, I did short it. Anyways, that was my own personal little wave ride. I don't really share stuff like that because I'm not a big day trader. I like investments. So any of these assets, when we get near the bottom, these distressed versions of the cryptocurrency world, I'm going to be super excited to pick up at pennies on the dollar in comparison to where we were at the all-time highs. There's just so much more room for heads up. So I do suspect, though, that the $1,000 to $1,500 area, and I've been saying this for the last almost 2.5, at least since I was here in Sri Lanka last time, so almost 2 months now, that this is a really important time to be paying attention to, because once we get to the bottom, it will likely be a sharp, quick retracement, although that might not be the case. If the global markets continue to fall, it's going to be bad news for anyone. Anyway, this is Tio with the Arcane Bear. I just wanted to give my quick update and sentiments, as I'm going to be extremely busy for the next 2 weeks here, working and playing, and hopefully maybe even going scuba diving today. So that's very exciting. So stay in touch with our group in the Telegram channel. In the links below, there's a lot of bright individuals that are always complimenting the movements in price by sharing their thoughts and opinions as well. We've got a well-rounded group of people there. I'm going to try to stay up on videos, which is seeming more and more difficult, but more excitingly so, on December 31st at 1:30 p.m. my time, we have this powerhouse of an individual, Masha Drakova. I hope I'm saying her name correctly here. She is a young female entrepreneur who I really, really like her story here. See if I can find it on Business Insider. Yeah, this 20-year-old Silicon Valley investor builds business by helping other entrepreneurs fall in love. You can check out her work very easily, dayoneVentures.com. We're going to have her on for a podcast as well on the 31st. Extremely excited to dive in and ask her questions, how she went from, I guess, from a pro-Putin activist to being an investor in the tech space. Again, I think she's listed as one of the only 2 female in like VC owners in the space itself. So very, very rare and beautiful story to see, especially the holistic approach. It really grabbed me right from the get-go, so I'm super excited to have her on the show. Stay tuned for that. It's Tio with the Arcane Bear. I'm going scuba diving now. That's what I'm going to go do.